What's going on, guys? This is the Listen to My Opinion podcast. It's a podcast I used to do before my YouTube blew up, and now that it blew up, I figured I could go ahead and just bring it back. Basically, I just talk about MMA the whole time, and I hope you enjoy that. So, I figured what I would do first is cover the card that's coming up, UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Lewis. It's not a bad card in terms of name value. Like, Sergey Spivak is the first fight on the card, and that's a decent heavyweight fighter. We've got Zahabi back, Draco Rodriguez, Chad Skelly, Jamal Emmers, Shannon Dobson, Casey O'Neill, Rafael Aves, Patrick Sabatini, I don't know who that is, Eddie Wineland, Luis Pena, I mean, he's alright, Jared Gordon, alright. Oh, and I forgot, Tom Aspinall's fighting. And that's fucking sick. Tom Aspinall is one of the heavyweight prospects that I look forward to seeing the most. He's a legit, muscled up, big guy. He's a legit heavyweight. And he looks to be pretty good so far. And he's getting Andrei Arlovski, which is basically the, hey, we need to see if you're legit, so you're going to fight Arlovski. Because Arlovski's not going to be a champion anytime soon. But if you can beat him, you definitely belong in the top 10. If you can beat him convincingly, I guess. Tanner Boser lost to fucking Andrei Arlovski, and that broke my heart. Like, Tanner looks good technically. Like, how do you lose to Arlovski? Like, come on, man, that's someone you're supposed to beat. Anyway, moving into the main card, Phil Hawes, I mean, it's whatever, not bad. Alexei Oleinik, Chris Daukaus. I'm actually interested to see Daukaus fight. He's pretty fat, but he's pretty good. Like, he's pretty good too. So I want to see if he can avoid the ground and knock out Oleinik, because Oleinik's an old man, and he should be able to knock him out if he doesn't get submitted. Charles Rose is good. Kellen Vieira, Yana, I mean, it's not something that I'm like, ooh, I'm glad this is the co-main event, you know? Like, honestly, Alexei Oleinik, that could be the co-main event, and it would be a better one, I think. And then Curtis Blaydes and Derek Lewis. I mean, this is just a heavyweight fight. I mean, it's a fight that makes sense considering Blaydes has lost to Ngannou twice. But Blaydes is he's just stuck in heavyweight purgatory. He's literally fighting everyone. He's going to have to beat everyone before they're like, okay, I guess you can fight for the title. Maybe if Ngannou loses to Stipe again, Blaydes will get a chance to like just hop in there because Stipe's never fought him. But besides that, like, it sucks for Blaydes, man. He's one of the most talented heavyweights out there, like, technically and athletically. Like, he's a good fighter. Like, the right overhand that he ate from Ngannou in their rematch, like, that would have killed 99% of the people on the planet. And he literally just ate that. Fell down, of course, because, I mean, you're getting hit with a Ford Escort. You're going to fall down. He fell down, caught himself, and then, you know, tried to recover the best he could. Like, the fact that he can take that, and also the knee he took from Overeem, like, he ducked into a counter knee and just ate that shit, and it was fine. Like, he's got a good chin for heavyweight. He really does. Along with his skill set, along with his athleticism, it's a tragic story to me. Like, I feel like he should have had a title fight by now. And as far as the actual fight itself, like how it plays out, I mean, it just seems like one of the most obvious fights to predict. Because we know that Derek Lewis isn't as good of a wrestler as Curtis Blaydes. I don't feel like that's an opinion. I feel like that's just how it is. Like, Curtis Blaydes would indeed out-wrestle Derek Lewis. But the thing is Derek Lewis, like, proves that technique doesn't matter whenever he can just stand up. Sometimes whenever he's on the bottom. So he has a couple of those, like, I don't know if any of you ever played the NFL Street games, but on those games, there were things called game breakers, and it was like one big action, one guaranteed big action in the game. So, like, if you wanted to complete a pass, you could use a game breaker, and it would 100% complete that pass. And it was like a cheat code. And that's essentially what Derek Lewis has. He has a couple of game breakers to where he could just stand up. Like, you've got him in side control. You've got him in half guard. You've got him on the ground. And he just stands up. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but he just stands up. And with those chances that he gets, he does have the capability to knock Curtis Blaydes out. I mean, Derek Lewis might not be very good technically, but he has improved technically, especially with his striking, and he's getting a lot more accurate. He throws actually really accurate kicks now, and they're terrifying. He opened up with a head kick against Oleinik, and I was just like, why not spam that? Because like it hit Oleinik's guard so hard and rattled him so hard, even though he blocked it, that it's just so obvious that, like, why would you not just spam that? Essentially, like, not over and over again, but, just throw him frequently. I feel like eventually you're just going to knock him out because he's literally not strong enough to block your head kick without literally getting hit with it anyways. I don't know. But the point of that tangent is that he has gotten way more accurate with his shots. And you can just tell that he is improving. So I don't want to like just shit on him completely. And he has a realistic chance of knocking Curtis Blaydes out. Like really, he does. It would be like a similar chance that I would give him to knock out Stipe Miocic. Like Stipe, obviously a better fighter than Curtis Blaydes, but it's the same kind of chance. Like Stipe should be able to wrestle him, and I think that he would do that. I think that he should be able to do that, but there's always a chance on the feet that Derek Lewis just lands this hellacious bomb and, creates a highlight reel knockout. That there's always a chance for that. And I think they game plan around that as well. So yeah, like I said, it's a very, very, very easy prediction for me. Because it's either Curtis Blaydes is going to wrestle fuck him or Derek Lewis is going to knock him out. Another topic I think would be good to talk about would be Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight belt. The fight seems pretty straightforward to me. Israel Adesanya is just a technically better striker than Jan by a lot. If it stays in open space, Adesanya should just murk him. And sorry to say that so harshly, but that's just what I think. I think that if Jan's like, hey, I can knock him out and stays in open space, that he's likely going to get fucked up. Likely. That does not mean that he can't land a shot to put Israel out. Of course he can. I mean, he's got the power to do so. He counters. He can do it. I believe that he can do it. But it's such a low chance compared to like how much he's going to get hit in return and how good Israel is with his defense. It's going to be... He's really outclassed when it comes to that. But this is not kickboxing. He's not forced to stay in open space. I really, really, really want to see Jan try to grapple this guy. I want to see him get into a fight that was similar to the Jacare Souza fight. Like, I know that fight sucked, but, they grappled a lot. I want to see that a lot. With Adesanya, I don't care how boring it is. I need to see if Adesanya can have similar level defensive grappling at light heavyweight. Because if he can, then it's almost a lock to beat Jon Jones. And if he just easily shrugs off Jan or Jon Jones, if he just easily gets out of their clinch, easily gets back up from the mat, easily stuffs their takedowns, he might be a 3-weight champion one day. If he can do that. If he can make light heavyweight guys look like middleweight guys in terms of grappling, he could literally be the heavyweight champion one day. He could. So I'm looking for that. I need to see how much he struggles. How much do I think he will struggle? I think he's going to struggle a moderate amount. I do think that if Jan clinches up with him, he's going to have a harder time getting out of it. That's just what I think is going to happen. If Jan stands in open space with him, he's almost certainly going to lose. But I really hope he tries to grapple with him, because then things can get interesting. Because then shots open up that might not normally be there. If Jan wears on him for a minute and a half, stomps on his toes or whatever, and, then breaks the clinch and tries to land a shot, it might be there. It might be there. More so than if he's trying to do those really ugly rushing blitzes that he does. Like I know they worked on Dominic Reyes, but Dominic Reyes is anywhere near the striker Israel Adesanya is. Especially defensively and with footwork. Like, he just literally covers up and backs up whenever someone throws combinations at him. Israel will calculate that. He'll do that a couple of times, but he'll calculate that and have counters built in. He did it to Whitaker, he did it to Costa. I mean, it really seems like this is if Adesanya was going to have the easiest fight that he could have for the light heavyweight belt, I feel like Blachowicz is it. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, if Yan knocks him out, it's going to ruin the Jones fight, so I'm going to hate that. But it will be cool because Yan is such a cool guy. Like, he's such a... You want him to win because you know that he's a cool guy. Alright, so I've been talking MMA for about 10 minutes now, and I feel like moving on to the question portion. Put a community post up on my YouTube, and I asked you guys to ask me questions, and you guys did that. 117 comments. Don't know if it'll be 117 questions, but I feel like the fairest way to do this is to sort by top comments, and I'm just going to scroll through and answer them until I don't feel like doing it anymore. So, with the first one is, would Cejudo still be the 135 champ if he didn't retire? How does he stack up to the top 10? I do not think that Henry Cejudo would be the champ if he stuck around and defended his belt. I think that he would probably lose to Yan. There's a really good chance that he loses to Sterling, and I think that would be an outfighting clinic from Sterling. Like here, Super Cejudo, like as I like to call him, is like a superhero in a way. Like the fights that he has, like he's losing until he just turns it on and figures out a way to win. Peter Yan or Aljamain Sterling, put him in any sort of adversity, you don't count him out. Like you know that he could find ways to win. But it just seems so likely that Sterling's too big to wrestle, too slick with BJJ. Like, I honestly feel like if Cejudo tried to wrestle him, that he would end up in a bad position. Like, I don't feel like that should be the game plan for Cejudo. Maybe use clinches to set up strikes, maybe do something like that. But with Sterling, you really probably need to avoid the grappling. I think he's pound for pound probably a top 3 grappler in MMA right now. He's amazing, dude. Like, he's great. So, no, I don't think that Cejudo would be champ. So, next question is, who do you see winning between Korean Zombie and Calvin Kattar, both coming off major ass beatings? Well, I wouldn't put it like that, even if you're right. Calvin Kattar, however you say it, he got his ass beat for sure. Korean Zombie also got his ass beat, but in like a less severe way. Like with Calvin, I felt bad for him. Truly. I truly felt bad for him. He was just getting... Like, I knew that. I put that on there I put it on my community post that, you know, Max Holloway and Calvin is a very, very easy fight to pick. I mean, there are levels between Max Holloway and Calvin. That's just how it is. And, you know, people didn't like that. And it turned out to be true. But he suffered a major ass beating. Korean Zombie just got outclassed. He did get an ass kicking, but I don't think it was as severe as Max Holloway's. Next question is, can Tony Ferguson climb up again, or is he done? He's done. He's done. He needs, for him to win the belt, he needs a last-minute replacement where he just fills in because he's the most known fighter that can or something. That's what he needs. Because he's not going to beat Justin Gaethje. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Dustin Poirier would knock him out. Him and Conor McGregor is a good fight though. Like, I think I'd favor Conor to win, but like if Conor doesn't knock him out, if it's true and Conor can't knock out anyone above featherweight, then besides Eddie Alvarez, then and Tony can just eat his shots, then that fight can get really interesting in the championship rounds. But as of like Tony's status in MMA, I think that he's done being an elite fighter. But that's okay. I mean, he's mid-30s, late 30s in one of the most competitive divisions in MMA. This isn't heavyweight. Like, there's a lot of competition down here. Like, a lot of it. And it's stacked. Like, young competition. And it's just a lot. It's not Tony Ferguson, like, sucking. It's just that, you know, when your division's better, you age more poorly in it. So, I think Tony's done. Is Daniel Cormier overlooked as an MMA legend? I would say that Daniel Cormier is overrated as an MMA legend. If you're considering the entire MMA fan base, like if you're talking about the entire MMA fan base, Daniel Cormier is definitely overrated. He is very commonly referred to as a top 10 fighter, He's not a top 10 fighter. Max Holloway is a better fighter than him and has beaten better opponents than him and has way more skills for MMA than him. If you're talking about a pound for pound list, of course. If you're talking about open weight, then I guess, like Stipe would be the greatest fighter ever if it's just open weight. Like, he can beat everyone. Like, I'm not saying that Daniel Cormier could beat Max Holloway in a real fight. Of course not. But if you're talking pound for pound and looking at the competition each guy faced and their actual skill set, like, it's pretty clear that, like, Max would be above Daniel Cormier. And there's a lot of fighters like that. Like, Stipe would be above Daniel Cormier. John Jones would be above Cormier. Jose Aldo would be above Daniel Cormier. Like, if you can point me to one person with the skill set of Volkan Ozdemir that Jose Aldo beat for a title defense, like, I'll give you a kiss, I promise. Because it's just, the competition levels are just different for right now. Like, I know it's a hard fact to accept, but MMA has only had rules for like 21 years or 20 years. Like, the rules that we know, unified rules, have only existed for like 20 years. So the sport just isn't developed yet. Give it 100 years. Like, boxing has century history of just, decades and decades of fighters. Like, we don't have that yet. We don't have that yet under the rule set that we have. So when that happens, like 100 years from now, I'm sure the higher weight classes will be developed similar to how the lower weight ones are developed now. Maybe. Depends on how much MMA catches on. You have any martial arts experience? Well, yes, I do. I went to my first BJJ class in 2015 after watching Luke Rockhold mount and finish Chris Weidman. I thought that Rockhold's, because I remember that Rockhold did that to Machida on his way to Weidman. And I was like, dude, the way this guy gets on top of people and they can't go anywhere is the coolest thing ever. I want to learn how to do that. So I went to my first BJJ gym, and I went for a couple of months, pretty steady. And then since then, it's just been off and on until recently. A couple of months ago, I was able to move back to a city to where I can actually go to the gym part-time now. So that's pretty sick. So I've just been doing that. So you as the listener, if you do martial arts in any way, if you train or anything, we're on the same level. I'm just a fan of the sport just like you. I just like to do analysis. I think it's fun, and people apparently like my content. So I'm not a martial arts master. Like, I'm not smarter than you because I can do analysis. And I feel like just dealing with analysis in anything can bring out, like, things in people where they're like, oh, you must think you're so smart. I don't think that I'm the smartest guy ever. I just study this stuff. I care about this stuff. And I do my best to know as much as possible before I speak on it because I love the intricacies and the nuances of the sport so much. I'm just like you. I'm just a fan. So yes, I do train. Next question is, would Khabib still dominate in the welterweight division? Oh, wow. Here's the thing. I truly believe that any welterweight that wants to grapple with Khabib is actually going to be really competitive because Khabib is super strong. So I think that he wouldn't be at a major strength disadvantage against someone like Usman. Like, he would definitely be at a strength disadvantage. Don't get me wrong. But due to how fucking strong he is just naturally, I do think that he would be close in level to strength. And I think that he's simply just a better grappler than Usman. And that doesn't, of course, Usman's one of the best grapplers in MMA. I get that. But a lot of it is physicality. A lot of people that he's grappling do not understand grappling the way that Khabib does. So I actually think that Khabib would be competitive in the welterweight division. I do. I don't think he'd dominate, though, because I think that it's just impossible to dominate someone like Usman who would have that kind of strength and size advantage. But I do think that Khabib has a real chance to win the belt there. I have that much respect for his grappling. I think that he's the greatest grappler MMA's ever seen. And I think due to that technical advantage, that it could overcome strength disadvantages and stuff like that. So I do think that Khabib could win the belt, but I don't think he would dominate. So no. Another Cejudo question. Do you think he could come back at featherweight and beat Volkanovski? No, I don't. Volkanovski is just a lot better than Henry Cejudo at striking, and I think that he has a size advantage and is a decent enough wrestler to where he could negate Cejudo's grappling. I think he's going to force a striking fight, and he's just better than Cejudo there. He just is. I mean, I suppose he could get knocked out, but it's the same as every other fight ever. You can get knocked out. Yes, it's a fight, but overall, I mean, Volkanovski's dealing with guys like Max Holloway. But what I'm trying to say is that Volkanovski would probably beat the shit out of Henry Cejudo. Next question, does Usman beat Khabib? I just answered this. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm skipping some of these just because these don't have any likes or anything. I'm not bored of reading them, but some I don't want to answer. For how long have you watched MMA? Thanks for the awesome content, by the way, man. God bless you. God bless you as well, man. I've been watching MMA since 2012, but I did not get into analysis until like 2017, 2018-ish. You gonna drop another picks video for this weekend, King? I might. That's a good idea. I might do it. Thoughts on the GOAT, Chael Sonnen? I appreciate the WWE angle that he goes for, but not the GOAT. Your take on Wonderboy versus Usman? I actually think that it's a good fight, but I don't think that Wonderboy is in his prime anymore athletically. I think he's taking way too much damage, and he's just, he's getting older in fight years, and even age. So I think that this current Wonderboy probably just gets, clinched up and taken down. But in open space, he would genuinely outstrike Usman. He really would. He would outstrike him. I don't think that there's like with Gilbert Burns and Colby Covington, there's like who's going to outstrike who has the better striking, who knows, grappling based fighters trying to learn striking, who's doing the best. But with Wonderboy, we know he's better. So Usman's got to grapple him. Like, I think that would be a good fight, honestly. I just don't know if Wonderboy's past his prime. I think he is, but I don't know. But a prime Wonderboy versus Usman would be a very compelling fight. Could you make breakdown videos on boxers as well? I could, but I just don't really know a lot about boxing. Like, I feel like I could analyze it, but I will try something soon. But don't expect perfect, because I don't watch boxing at all. But I'm a boxing casual to the fullest. So Izzy versus Jones prediction. I could talk about that for a while, but I'll just keep it short and sweet. I think Izzy beats him. But after the Yan fight, that'll be where I can actually get some final conclusions. But as of right now, if they were gonna fight next week, I would pick Izzy. Yeah. Who is the GOAT in your opinion? Demetrius Johnson. Who is your favorite women's MMA fighter, and why is it Rose Namajunas? For a while, Macy Barber was my favorite WMMA fighter. As embarrassing as that is, back in 2018 when she was TKOing people, she was my favorite women's fighter. Okay, thought she was cool. But Rose, people say that I simp for Rose. I don't simp for Rose. When she was on the Ultimate Fighter, when she had long hair, whenever she was losing and stuff to Carla Esparza, I didn't care about Rose Namajunas. The reason I like Rose so much now is because of her technical improvements. I love watching her fight. She's my favorite to watch fight. So she is my favorite women's MMA fighter. As an MMA fan, I'm not saying that she is this actually, but to me as an MMA fan, she's like prime Connor to me. I can't miss a Rose fight. I'm not going to. I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure I'm there to watch a Rose fight, because she's one of the best women's fighters I've ever seen, technically. Can Colby beat Usman in a rematch? Well, yes, he can beat him. I don't think he will, but yes, he can. Honestly and truly, what does Stipe need to do to beat Ngannou in the rematch? Ngannou isn't going to make the same mistakes again. Well, Stipe just needs to wrestle him again. I don't think that Ngannou's going to run at him and try to kill him this time. I think he thought it would work the first time, and heavyweight actually had a really good champion, so, Stipe prevented that from happening. And I do think that Ngannou's going to be more patient this time. I think he understands that. But I just worry about how old Stipe is. He's almost 40, and he slowed down, and slowing down even a little bit, he's going to get caught by Ngannou punches. He did in the first fight. He was just able to eat them. He went through hell with DC. I don't know how much his durabilities went down. So I'm worried for the guy. I really am. It's hard for me to pick it, because from a skill standpoint, it's easy. Stipe's a tremendously better fighter than Francis Ngannou from a skill level. But Ngannou negates a lot of the skill because he can just throw bombs and he's indestructible. So I'm scared for him, man. But what does he need to do is he just needs to wrestle again. It's very simple. Like, strike when you have to, take him down. Because you know he's not as good of a wrestler as you. You know that. Honestly, go for a sub if you can. Some sort of choke or something. Just get it over with quickly. And it's not that I don't think he can strike with him. I think he can, but I do think that it's so much of a danger zone. Why would you even be there? Just go to the ground. How come your channel is called Look at My Opinion when most of your videos be factual? That's the truth, isn't it? Always coming out with facts. It's me. That's what I do. Quick breakdown of a potential Gaethje and Poirier rematch. What improvements and adjustments did Gaethje make since then? That's a great question. A question that will be the subject of a video, so I won't say too much. But Gaethje has improved tenfold. He understands now that he wants to be a championship fighter. And when you're a championship fighter, you have to fight elite competition all the time. You might be able to get away with it, but you can't just run at people all the time. You can't just pressure, kick them, eat whatever's coming back, and eventually land your shot. You can't do that. You can't be the most entertaining fighter, which is what he wanted to be. But now he's a championship fighter, and he is so patient. He's really patient. He's still fighting. He's still entertaining. But you can tell he's trying to bait out attacks and counter them constantly. That's what he's always trying to do. He's trying to parry away shots and stay in good position so he can fire a counter. He constantly causes these collisions, and he's constantly in good position most of the time to hit you really hard on the counter. Him fighting Dustin is scary for Dustin because their first fight was super close, and Gaethje was fighting the way he used to fight, where he just comes forward, tries to pressure, and tries to beat the shit out of you. And he beat the shit out of Dustin. He really did. Even if he got finished, you can't deny that he beat the shit out of Dustin. And Dustin beat the shit out of him. It was a great fight. It was a high-level lightweight fight that Dustin got the edge in. But I think that Gaethje just hits harder than Poirier. Not by a lot, but harder. And is so good on the counter that he can catch Dustin. And the way that I feel the match would go is that they would have a very good fight until Gaethje caught him with a massive counterpunch and put him away. Like, I just see Dustin losing that after all the wars he's been through. And I don't think that he's beating Gaethje now. Not with the Gaethje that we see today. I think that he's improved too much with how close their first fight was. So, do you think MMA will evolve to such an extent that wrestling will no longer be the best background? Or do you think that wrestling will always be the best background? This is a great question. That is a great question because there's multiple realities to think about, right? Like, say 150 years from now. 150 years from now, how we think about the MMA landscape. There's been 150 years of people, millions of people enjoying this sport and growing up in gyms and growing up in cities where they had the opportunity to learn from an MMA coach from an early age because MMA is so common now versus how it was in 2003, 2004. MMA evolving could lead to the point to where everyone just knows how to grapple, and MMA is a baseline thing, and really good wrestling doesn't really separate you unless you can integrate that into MMA. Well, I've been talking for 30 minutes, so that's it for the poddy. If people like this, then I'll do it more often, for sure. And potentially make them longer, have guests on and stuff like that. But I hope you enjoyed, and peace out.